Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajjanarandana Yashodanandana Brajjanarandana Yamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Shila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Shila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Nashtaprayasya Vradeshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtati. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th Canto, entitled Liberation, Chapter 10, Verse 54. Ekapatni Vratadharo Rajarishi Charita Suchi Swadharmam Griha Medhyam Shikshayan Swayam Acharat. Ekapatni Vratadharo Rajarishi Charita Suchi Swadharmam grihamedhyam shikshayam swayam acharat. Ekapatni vratadhara, taking a vow not to accept a second wife or to have any connection with any other woman. Raja Rishi, like a saintly king, Charita, whose character, Suchihi, pure, Swadharmam, one's own occupational duty, Griha Medium, especially of persons situated in household life, Shikshayam, teaching by personal behavior, Swayam, personally, Acharat, executed his duty. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Ramachandra took a vow to accept only one wife and have no connection with any other women. He was a saintly king, and everything in his character was good, untinged by qualities like anger. He taught good behavior for everyone, especially for householders. In terms of Varnashram Dharma, thus he taught the general public by his personal activities. Therefore, Ekapatni Vrata, accepting only one wife, was the glorious example set by Lord Ramachandra. One should not accept more than one wife. In those days, of course, people did marry more than one wife. Even Lord Ramachandra's father accepted more wives than one. But Lord Ramachandra was an ideal king, accepted only one wife, Mother Sita. When Mother Sita was kidnapped by Ravan and the Rakshasas, Lord Ramachandra, as a supreme personality of Godhead, could have married hundreds of thousands of Sitas, but to teach us how to be faithful, he was to only his one wife. He fought with Ravana and finally killed him. The Lord punished Ravana and rescued his wife to instruct men to have only one wife. Lord Ramchandra accepted only one wife and manifested sublime character, thus setting an example for householders. A householder should live according to the ideal of Lord Ramachandra. He showed how to be a perfect person. Being a householder, living with a wife and children is never condemned, provided one lives according to the regulative principles of Varnashram Dharma. Those who live in accordance with these principles, whether as householders, brahmacharis, or vanaprasthas, are all equally important. Yeah, I thought this verse, Saka probably basically asked me what verse I would like to do, and I picked this one because Diwali is coming up, and everyone knows Diwali is the day that Lord Ramachandra returns to Ayodhya, right, after 14 years of exile. This verse actually also stood out to me because, you know, as devotees, we worship Krishna. You know, Krishna is Leela Purushottam, right? We can't follow his activities, but we do follow what he says. Whereas Lord Ramachandra, he is Maryada Purushottam, right? He sets examples that we can follow. So his activity is something we can follow. Whereas with Lord Krishna is what he says that we follow, basically. It's also astonishing to know, and many of you will know this, that there's only 7 texts that actually describes Lord Ramachandra. Only 7 texts. This is according to various other scriptures, Ramayana being one of them. Whereas there's 47 chapters that talk about Krishna's childhood. 47 chapters, not text, chapters. So that's something I just read about yesterday. So I found that pretty special. So I just want to focus, this class is going to be focused on the ideal character. What is it to be an ideal character? As devotees, especially sadhakas, people who are practicing sadhana bhakti, why is it so important to set a good example? Srila Prabhupada always mentioned things like we should be gentlemen, an ideal gentleman, right? Why? What's the point? What's the point of following ethics? What's the point of just having integrity, principles, all those things? So we'll analyze Lord Ramachandra, his life, and then let's see what we can learn. So I pray for the blessings of everyone here, that we can learn something, explore something, and have some deep realizations together. So what was the purpose of Lord Ramachandra coming down? So there was fourfold purposes. The first one was that Ravana was causing so much havoc. And as we know, Sarva Dharma Parityaja Vaham Ekam Saranam, right? Yada yada dharmasya glani bhavati bharata. That whenever there's a decline in religion, the Lord comes down and basically destroys all evil, and he establishes Dharma. So we see this, that Ravana was causing so much havoc. Actually, the demigods were running hither and thither because they couldn't handle the power of Ravana. Ravana was super, super powerful. So the demigods actually approached Lord Vishnu upon the milk ocean. And they asked Lord Vishnu, please come down. Only you can defeat this great demon, because to us, he's formidable. So what did Lord Vishnu say? I will come down, but only in one condition. What was that condition? That you all come down with me as monkeys. They can imagine the Lord's asking these demigods, these devatas, right, in top places in the heavenly, world, to come down as monkeys. Monkeys have no social status. They're not even part of the human race. They're like the monkeys. They don't have any social status. Of course, demigods had to comply. But the backstory of this is that the Lord doesn't care what species you're in. We do. We care. And even worse, we also care about what caste we're in, whether we're Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, but the Lord doesn't care about all that. All he cares about is the devotion side of things. So he just wants to see our devotion. He doesn't care about all these classes and things like that. So with him, even his energy, Devi Heshikanamaya Mamamaya Durateya, right? He actually says this divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes. He calls his energy, the material energy, divine. Because when it affects us, it becomes Maya, because that which is not, it's illusion. But when he's talking about his energy, it's all one. He just, the energetic and everything around him is energy. We see everything as classes of energy because we're obviously controlled or delusioned by the various categories of energies. So same thing with devotional service. Sometimes we might see someone sweeping the floor. We might see someone, doing management stuff. We might be seeing someone give classes. Everyone is equal. That's why Srila Prabhupada says that all these services are equal to the Supreme Lord. But to us, we probably see it as, oh, that person probably couldn't do what I can do. So all this is something that we categorize, we classify. But for the Lord, everything is equal. So that's one thing we have to also think about, that, the Lord actually sees the service. He doesn't see the social status. Number two, the second reason Lord Ramachandra came down was because when he was resting, with Lakshmi Devi was massaging his lotus feet. And as Lakshmi Devi massaged, the Lord's lotus feet, she was in anxiety, a little bit of a longing. So Lord Vishnu being, omniscient, omnipresent, he can see, Atma, he can see the heart of everyone. He actually asked Lakshmi, what's in your mind? And Lakshmi said, well, I just feel like I'm not satisfied just massaging your feet. I want to do it like a little bit more personal setting. And Lord Vishnu said, what do you mean? You're like, this is the best service. All the demigods are lining up for this kind of service where they get to massage my feet. Actually, my lotus feet are being adorned by the whole entire universe. Everyone worships my feet. Everyone, all the yogis aspiring for these. You got the best service. You have the exclusive service. And Lakshmi Devi said, but there's one thing lacking. I don't have any privacy when I'm serving you. So can anyone guess why Lakshmi Devi would say that? Privacy, lack of privacy. Who else is there on the bed? That's right, Ananta Shesh. Ananta Shesh with his millions of hoods and even more millions times 2 eyes, and it's all looking. So Lakshmi Devi said, yeah, I just feel like Ananta Shesh is here. And when he looks at me, it's as if like I'm being monitored, it doesn't feel right. So Lord Vishnu said, yes, to mitigate you, to pacify you. It won't be possible in this. We have to probably go down to earth to have that privacy. So Sita was born. Sita appeared. Lord Vishnu appeared as Lord Ramachandra. And it was beautiful. The whole pastimes were that there was this massive bow. They call it the Hara Dhanur, or the bow of Lord Shiva. It was so heavy, this bow, that it took, various scriptures say different things. One scripture I read, it said 1,000 men, strong men, to lift that bow. Bhagavatam says 300 strong men. But it took a lot of men. The essence is it took a lot of strong men to lift this bow. This bow was so heavy that they actually, when they lifted it, they only could manage 2 steps. And then they had to drop the bow. And it took them half an hour to recover from lifting that bow. Then they would lift it up again, and again another 2 steps. So this bow was very heavy, and it was around Janak Maharaj's, who's Sita Devi's father, of course, was in his kingdom. This bow was super, super heavy. And at one point when Sita Devi she was a young child, I think 4 or 5 years old, and they wanted to pluck some flowers off the top of the tree. So Sita Devi is like, let me just grab a bow from one of the chambers of my father's, kingdom. So she would just effortlessly pick up this bow, just effortlessly, and use it and strike down the flower that they want. So you can imagine, the ministers who witnessed this, they saw Sita Devi do this. They're like, it just took 300 strong men to lift this bow, and she effortlessly lifted this bow, just like a child playing with a toy. This is incredible. And of course, Janak Maharaj was like in anxiety. Being a father, who has a daughter, one of the first anxiety, I have a daughter. One of the first anxiety is, we need to find a suitable partner. So Janak Maharaj was like, who do I find in the 3 worlds that can match her strength? Because obviously, if she marries a weak husband, you can imagine what's going to happen. Like, she embraces him, he's going to turn to dust. She caresses his hair. Basically, this guy's going to have a free shave. His head's going to be lopped off. So it's going to be pretty intense. So who can we marry in the 3 worlds? Who can she marry in the 3 worlds? And that obviously begs the question, what Sita Devi could have done to Ravan, what she could have done to Ravan. She could have easily defeated him, plucked all of his heads off, all 10 of them. But it's just to teach us and to invoke the dependency that she had on Lord Ram. And that's the reason, the surrender that she actually taught. Otherwise, she would have easily defeated Lord Ravana. So what happened? Swayamvar came along. So at that time, Sita Devi was 6 years old, and Lord Ram was only 12. So when the Swayamvar happened, when the wedding ceremony happened, and the challenge was to pick up the Hara Dhanur, right? The bow of Lord Shiva. At that time, a lot of warriors tried, but no one could do it. Vishwamitra, who was Lord Ramachandra's guru, just said to Lord Ram, Vatsa Rama Adhanur Upasyate. Please see this bow. He didn't even say lift this bow. He said, please see about this. And of course, Lord Ramachandra, being an ideal disciple, and we'll talk about what an ideal disciple is, at least explore it, could immediately understand the intent of his guru. So not did he just see the bow, he lifted the bow effortlessly. And he lifted it with such vigor and force. And when he strung the bow just broke. It just broke like it was nothing. And this bow was super, it was big as well. It wasn't just heavy, it was massive. And the snapping of the bow sent vibrations across the whole universe. Actually, all the demigods heard this. It was a massive twang, kind of. Of course, we all know what happened with Parshuram that came, but we'll skip that for now. But the point there is that a disciple not only, understands the intent of the guru, but a disciple also expands the service of the guru. They know what the mission of the guru is, and they become the friend of the guru. How does that happen? By actually serving the mission of the guru. So if you ever want to live with your guru, if you ever want to be a friend to your guru, is to serve the mission of the guru. And then you'll understand, like Srila Prabhupada, he forever expanded the mission of his Guru Maharaj. His Guru Maharaj preached in India. Srila Prabhupada preached to the world. So he expanded his service. And who did he give the glory to? He didn't take the glory for himself. He didn't say, I did this. My guru just did India. I did the whole world. That wasn't his mentality. His mentality was, the glory of my Guru Maharaj is spread all over the world. That was his mentality. And that's correct. Actually, that's actually what happened, if you look at it. He expanded the service of his guru. So back to the Swayamvar. So this was, it was time for, obviously Lord Ram won, right? He got the hand of Sita Devi. So it's time to put the garlands on. I can imagine a 6-year-old and a 12-year-old. And Lord Ramachandra wasn't any normal Kshatriya. He was Vidyavan. One of the qualities of Lord Ramachandra is that he's very brave. He's a Kshatriya, and he'll always stand straight. And he will never bend. He'll never bend. So Sita Devi had the anxiety because she couldn't reach around to put the garlands on. She couldn't reach Lord Ramachandra he has to bend down for him to put the garland on. But Lord Ramachandra wouldn't do that. And Janak Maharaj was, again, you can imagine, he was in anxiety. He was like, if he doesn't bend over or bend down, they can't marry. They have to exchange garlands. And Lakshmana was there, and Lakshmana immediately understood the situation. So what did he do? He clasped onto the lotus feet of Lord Ramachandra. And what do the elders do when we try to touch their feet? They bow down slowly and they look down and they're like, no, you don't need to do that. So Lord Ramachandra momentarily just bowed down a little bit to address his brother. And at that same moment, Sita Devi put the garlands around him and they were married. So it's such a nice pastime. So Lord Ramachandra represents Dharmagya, right? He came down to teach the principles of religion. He also came down to protect those who surrendered unto religion. So there's twofold meaning for the word Dharmagya. It means that he'll protect anyone that surrenders to him or surrenders to Dharma. And the other one is that he'll teach the principles of what Dharma is. Because he's Maryada Purushotam. He teaches by example. His whole pastimes around how to be a role model, how to be ideal king, ideal husband, ideal son, etc. Lakshmana, Lakshmi Sampurnam. His purpose is he has opulence, and not the opulence that we see, like the riches and the wealth and the treasures and things like that. His opulence is that his service to his brother, Lord Ramachandra. So he has that mood, and that's his wealth. Like if you were to take his wealth away from him, it'll be the service to his brother. So that's how special he was. So he represents Artha. Artha means economic development. Artha always serves dharma. It should always. Artha's rightful place is that it serves religion. So economic development should always serve religion. That's why we say Lakshmi. So Lakshman actually represents that because he followed his brother everywhere. Anyway, nice pastime there. So now Lord Ram and Sita Devi are married. Lord Ramachandra and Sita Devi are married. And I can imagine Ayodhya was a place where it was hustle and bustle. Everyone worshipped Lord Ramachandra. Everyone wanted to be with him. So the palace was 24/7. It was 24/7 with coming and going. And now let's cast our minds back with what Lord Vishnu said to Lakshmi, that if you want privacy, we'll have to come down to earth. So Sita Devi is like to Lord Ramachandra, we still don't have privacy. And that's why the 14 years happened, the exile. Because in the 14 years of Banvas, or exile in the forest, they had that privacy. Because Lakshmana didn't sleep, he was watching and making sure his brother was safe. So even he had the mood of service at that point. So that was the second reason Lord Ramchandra came down. There are many reasons, but in the interest of time, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the various Lord Ramachandra's expansions as well. We spoke briefly about Lakshmana, but there was also, can anyone remember the two other brothers that weren't mentioned? Bharat. Shatrughna, yes. So Bharat's name is, as you know, Bharat could synonymously mean India or the world. But the actual meaning of Bharat also means burden. He was burdened. How was he burdened? When Lord Ramachandra left for exile, he was the one that basically administered Ayodhya, the city. So he was already like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. This kingdom belongs to Lord Ramachandra. Actually, even worse. Before we even, so as you know, as Lord Ramachandra left the kingdom, Dasharath, Lord Ramachandra's father, he was in separation with Lord Ramachandra. He couldn't bear even a small fraction being away from his son. He passed away. And as Bharat Maharaj was attending the funeral, Dasharath, his own father, told him, don't touch my body. I hold you accountable. I hold KK accountable. You know, the whole mantra, the whole thing that happened, the politics of the kingdom happened. So can you imagine your father telling you, don't touch my body? I don't want you here. There was obviously a whole misunderstanding, but you can imagine what Bharat felt at that time. Can you imagine your own father telling you this? And it was all based out of a misunderstanding because Bharat didn't know anything about this. Like, it was his mother that did it, right? That did the whole exile and, you know, everything. But Bharat just stood firm. He said, okay, this happened, Krishna's arrangement. So he carried on. And Lord Ramachandra told him, you're going to administer the kingdom. And you can imagine the public were also against him. They were throwing the rocks at him. They were like, we don't want you as a king. Bring Lord Ramachandra back. We have no interest in you. You're the one responsible for doing this like this. So Bharat actually bared the burden of everything that happened. But his focus was, one of the other qualities of Lord Ramachandra is Didaravat, is steadfast. So whatever he focuses on. So he got, as you know, he got the Charan Paduka of Lord Ramachandra, his sandals. He put them on an altar and worshipped them. And he derived great power from these Charan Padukas. So you can imagine that if one worships the Guru, one worships your Lord and Master, one is imbued with so much power, so much spiritual power that no matter what happens in your life, whether it's tragedy, grief, people throwing stones at you, people gossiping about you, accusations, misunderstandings. How many times do devotees get misunderstood? Happens quite a lot. Prabhu, he shouted at me. Prabhu, he didn't really understand what I was going through. I had a tough day, I was herding the cows, and he wants me to do this other service, and I just can't do it. So, devotees do get overwhelmed, but just the focus and the steadfastness should be there in terms of, hey, you know what? What's my purpose? There was one pastime where Srila Prabhupada wanted kachoris, and so he went to he told the cook, he said, I want, please make me kachoris. So the cook made the kachoris, went upstairs and presented it to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada said, I'd like to taste him tomorrow. I'd like to taste what it would taste like 24 hours from now. So the cook said, no problem. He took it downstairs, took it to the kitchen, and there was a Mataji there cooking. And the Prabhu said to the Mataji, please look after these kachoris. Srila Prabhupada would like to taste them tomorrow. The Mataji said, don't be silly. Prashadam is like wealth here. It's probably going to disappear within a second and you put down. Don't put it here. Don't do this, Prabhu. Don't do this. But she gave him a big lecture. But even then, Prabhu left it somewhere in the kitchen, somewhere out of sight. Next day came, Srila Prabhupada asked for the kachoris. And he went to the kitchen to get them. And lo and behold, the kachoris were gone. So the Prabhu actually just completely panicked. He's like, what do I do now? This can't be happening. This can't be happening. So the Mataji said, I told you, you shouldn't leave the kachoris there unattended. It's gonna happen. Prashadam is probably more valuable than jewels, You leave jewels there or you leave any kind of money there, it'll probably be there for 5, 6, 7 weeks, but Prashadam just goes within an hour. So he started panicking, and the Mataji said, look, if Srila Prabhupada asked, she just wanted him out of the kitchen. So if Srila Prabhupada asked, just tell him a cat ate it, like that. So this Prabhu was very, very innocent, very sweet. So he went upstairs and he said to Srila Prabhupada, the cat took it. Like that. And then after a few minutes, he came down to the kitchen. So Mataji was obviously very interested in terms of, what happened, right? So Prabhu was so disappointed. He said, Mataji, I told him that the cat took it. Cat ate it. You know what Srila Prabhupada told me? He said, the person who told you that the cat took it probably ate it more. So the Mataji was so upset. She was like, how can Prabhupada see? I never ate the kachoris. I would never do such a thing. It was for Srila Prabhupada. I would never do it. There was a massive storm in her mind. She lost all composure. But what happened immediately? She understood the instructions, the need, the core. So she got her composure back. That's the other thing, Gunavan, one of the other qualities of Lord Ramachandra, that no matter what happened in his life, he stayed composed. So this Mataji completely stayed composed and said, hang on a minute, my Guru Maharaj wants some kachoris. Forget my feelings, forget the storm in my mind. So she basically regained her composure and she made some fresh kachoris for Srila Prabhupada. And she got it done in record time, and Prabhu took it upstairs, these nice fresh kachoris, and Srila Prabhupada, had some. Prabhu came downstairs again to the kitchen and asked Mataji, Mataji asked, what happened? What happened? And Prabhuji said, Srila Prabhupada ate 5 kachoris, and he said they were better than the ones yesterday. Haribol. What a nice pastime, right? But yeah, it tells you one thing. It teaches us one thing. Most of these pastimes are, didactic, right? They're there to tell you a story, to pick up some principles on how we can be good, ideal devotees, be ideal servants. A lot of people ask, what is my purpose in this earth? What am I supposed to do? What qualities, what guna karma do I have? How do I engage in service? These questions people ask, what is my purpose? Our purpose is to actually become self-realized. Our purpose is to actually become pure devotees, actually. And let whatever manifests, they'll come out naturally. You know, we don't need to worry about any ambitions, any directions. It'll naturally come out. We don't need to worry about that. Our goal is to just become a devotee of Krishna and become pure, you know, and naturally everything will flow. So we have to also think, you know, Lord Ramachandra, an ideal householder, ideal king. Him and Sita Devi were ideal, like sacrificial couple as well. We talk about sacrificial couples, you know. These two, especially during Rama Rajya, they actually sacrificed so much because they were looking after the whole kingdom. As you know, they also, you know, Sita had to get banished. Lord Ramachandra had to get banished at one point as well, before the banishment of Sita Devi. So they actually sacrificed so much. 14 years in the forest is a very long time, in a hut, surrounded by wild animals. So it's amazing. It's amazing what he did. There's another story, another pastime where Lord Ramachandra taught Krutajnekta. Krutajnekta means gratefulness. As you know, it's a very famous story when they were doing the Ramachandra bridge between Bharat and Lanka, when they were building, and the squirrels and the sparrows were also helping with the little pebbles and things like that to build the bridge. And Hanuman said, "What are you doing? You're wasting your time. You're useless. Like, this is nothing. I'm holding those big stones and everything." So what did Lord Ramachandra do? He thanked the squirrels, he thanked the sparrows. He didn't just say, "What you're doing is nothing." So similarly, when we see devotees like do something, we should be very, very, very thankful that they're doing something, they engage, because everyone's got their own journey. Everyone's serving at their own capacity. And we may think that at that point in time, our service is greater than theirs. But we don't know what they've done. We don't know what they've done in their past lives. We don't know what they've done in the past hour. We only see our angle of vision. And sometimes we think we're doing more. We're carrying the whole temple. But our mood should be, that person is doing so much, and we should forget about what we did. Actually, that should be the ideal. Chandramauli Maharaj actually said this in one of the lectures, that we should remember what others did, and we should forget what we did in that way. Of course, when it comes to good stuff. Obviously, when it comes to stuff that we did wrong or anything that we need to correct ourselves, we should remember that more, and then the vice of others. So I think, I just wanted to open up and ask if anyone had any questions, concerns, or realizations. Is there a way we can untap this?
Yeah, they should be able to speak now.
Yeah, I'd just like to open up to the forum. If anyone had any realizations or comments or thoughts.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for your class. I'm very, very grateful to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, sorry, it's a very short class. Yeah, I just wanted. My classes are usually like I try to make it interactive. So if anyone had any thoughts, questions, Diwali is coming up. I'd like to see if you'd like to share some pastimes of Lord Ramachandra that we can learn from. Okay, looks like we'll conclude. Hare Krishna.
Jagannath. Wonderful class. Thank you so much. Love Ram Kata. I was curious, that pastime, which I haven't heard before, about Ram when Sita was trying to garland him, and what Lakshman did. I was wondering, what are your thoughts on this about how much should we emulate or try to emulate Lord Ram? So in some instance like that, for example, Ram did that, but if you and I were getting married, would we would we not bend down, because Ram did that? So any thoughts about that, and how much should we, actually, how far do we go with trying to emulate that?
That's a great question. We have to understand that Lord Ram was in a different yuga. People were very like chivalry, people understood what it meant to protect, protect everyone at that age. This age in Kali Yuga, the one thing that I would probably do to follow the footsteps by the mercy of our acharyas is to understand that, like our false ego, right? Like sometimes we might get puffed up in our positions, our roles, or even occupation. I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm this, I'm that. One pastime is that Shatugna, right? Shatugna, a lot of people think he's the brother of Lord Ramchandra, as you know. A lot of people think that means he can hurt his enemies. Yes, that's one translation. But Shatugna also represents false ego, the one who kills false ego. That's the true meaning of the word Shatugna. Like if you ever read the pastimes of Shatugna, all he did was defeat one demon, just one demon. Lord Ramachandra defeated over 60,000 different demons, right? And Shatugna only defeated one demon. His name was Lavrasura. And for that, he's called Shatugna. And you think that's like a misnomer. But his name actually means the one who defeats false ego, because that's the biggest enemy, if you look at it. So bowing down, shifting our consciousness, empathy, understanding where the other person is coming from, all these things are a good example of one who's given up one's own false ego, because they're basically looking at it from the position of the other. So to emulate Lord Ram might not be, I wouldn't say emulate Lord Ram himself, but I would say try to look at the whole Leela and see it in a didactic way, right? See it as in what's the story? What am I supposed to learn from this pastime, rather than what am I supposed to just learn from the character of Lord Ramachandra? Because some of his feats were superhuman, and some of these feats were also done at another time, a bygone era. So some of these things cannot be emulated. I hope that answered your question, Prabhu.
Thank you. Wonderful. I appreciate that answer.
I've got another question. Thank you for your wonderful class. When you express that our goal as devotees is to focus on self-realization and the rest, our purpose, our identity, etc., follows, that is tough to follow, as we are very much occupied and preoccupied even with our nature and inclination. That exact part of the mission should be plugged in. What are your thoughts, realization, advice on this? Yeah, I mean, Prabhu, I've also struggled with this for many decades, where you feel lost. You feel like, what is my purpose? Am I just going to be like serving in the kitchen all day, or they don't really understand the true value of what am I supposed to bring here? They don't understand my skill set. I'm talking about the authorities. There's all these questions people come up with, right? Like, I'm a PhD, like, what am I doing here? Right? So there's lessons to be learned. One thing I learned from Ghanshyam Priya Prabhu, everyone knows him as Jay Shetty. Amazing. What he said was that whatever you're doing, you're supposed to do that. Krishna's put you there. He's arranged for it. You don't need to fight against it. So if the stream is flowing downwards, don't go upstream. That's where stress actually occurs. if you look at it in one way, I was in the ashram for like 2-3 years, both at the Bhaktivedanta Manor and in the Sydney Temple. I was happy for the first few weeks, few months, and then it kind of set in my head. Am I supposed to be doing this? Is this my purpose? Is this my mission? Kanana Maharaj walked past at one point. I was sweeping the floor in Sydney Temple, and Kanana Maharaj walked past. He looked at me. I looked at him, and I wanted to make sure he saw me sweeping, because I kind of wanted a quick kudos out of this. So he said he immediately could smell reeked of false ego, so he could smell of it. I was reeking of it. And he said to me, don't think you're carrying the temple. What you're doing is a privilege. And I was like blown away. I was literally blown away. And that's the thing. We think it's really our false ego that we think that we're supposed to have a purpose. We're supposed to do something. What is everything that's happening around us? The universe is already arranged it. It's already conspired, right? It's already there. We don't need to fight against it. It's according to our consciousness. Krishna understands best what situation to put us in to learn a particular lesson. I can cast your mind back in a class given by Buddha Bhavana, a very nice class. He was talking about different situations that happen in your life. And you'll notice that the same situations will happen again and again, whether you're outside of ISKCON or whether you're in ISKCON, you just get different faces coming in. But the situation's the same because it's supposed to graduate you from your consciousness. It's supposed to graduate you. And if you're not graduating, you're going to be in the same situation. Doesn't matter if you're here or you're there. Doesn't matter what environment or what service you get. We're going to bring the same natures with ourselves. So it's always important to graduate or evolve our consciousness. That's more important. I also, I've been around for like 27 years. I also had the Messiah complex, right? I'm meant to do something big for Srila Prabhupada. I'm meant to do something big. People don't know, and that's another dangerous mentality, because what happens in that mentality is you're focused on others rather than focusing on ourselves. When we stop focusing on ourselves and start focusing on bringing people together, and it's all about me, and like it's an extended false ego actually. I want to connect everyone together. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice, but how much have you worked on yourself to do that? Because you'll see that if it hasn't manifested, there's a lot of work to be done internally. So if it hasn't externally manifested, that means the internal work hasn't been done. Hope that makes sense. And yeah, there is the other aspect to it as well, which is doing the needful at the temple, right? Sometimes the temple's low in manpower and you just have to plug in where you can. And it's really tough because you're doing 50, 60 services in a day, right? For that, if you can somehow keep the mood, just like Lord Ramachandra did, right? Dridavat, steadfast in your service. Don't sacrifice your mood for anything. That's the main thing. You might not do your service properly, or it might, every effort has some kind of mistakes attached to it, imperfections attached to it, right? But try not to sacrifice your mood. Try not to. One beautiful pastime was Shruti Dharma Prabhu. He was a temple president of Bhaktivedanta Manor. So when he passed away, it's a nice story. His wife spoke, I think it was his wife or his brother-in-law, Loving Krishna, spoke in the funeral. And what he said was, in the past, I think 10 or 20 years, he's never shouted at his wife. He's never chastised them. He only did it. There was one time when he just raised his voice a little, just like a 1 decimal, just 0.1 decimal or something. He raised his voice to his wife. And for that, he wrote a huge letter apologizing. Can you imagine the control, the self-work that's happening there internally? So, yeah, I wanted to share that. Thank you. Beautiful question. We've got about 7 minutes left. Would anyone like to say anything?
7:45.
Oh, is it finished at 7:45? Oh, okay. Sorry, Prabhos, looks like we went over. Thank you for your kind attention and participation. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare